Hello Mallards, it is Sunday and I am outside of Theater South Playhouse where I'm about to see a matinee of Radium Girls. I'm very excited. I was invited by a member of the cast to come see the show, and I know literally nothing about Radium Girls because not only do I not know this show, but also I'm really bad at history, so I have no idea what I'm in for. I'll let you know when I hit intermission what I've learned. It's going to be fun and educational. It is intermission, so I am outside enjoying the fresh air for a minute. So now I know a little bit more about what this show is about. As I mentioned, I don't know that much about the Radium Girls in actual historical context, aside from the vague idea that there used to be a factory where they used radium to paint clocks and that people got sick. And so the show actually centers around one of the people who worked in that factory named Grace, and her fight, like a little bit about working there, but mostly her fight after she was done working there, fighting the company for compensation for the fact that she got sick. And through the first act is sort of her getting sick and realizing that the company really is to blame, and then deciding to stand up for herself. And I think that people have done a fantastic job in this show. There are a lot of varied characters and a lot of depth and a lot of heartache already, because there's a lot of death very, very early in the show. And I think everyone's doing a very good job carrying that and evoking that. Evelyn is doing fantastic as Grace. There's a huge amount of emotion. And most of the other performers are playing several different characters on different sides of the spectrum. And so it's fun to see them switch back and forth from not caring to caring, and seeing even a little bit of depth in the villains of the story, like the man who is in charge of the company, despite the fact that he obviously is continuing to cause problems because of his bottom line. He does seem at least a little bit concerned that people are getting sick, and you can kind of see that in the way he talks to people and treats that. I've really enjoyed the quiet moments in this show. The director did a fantastic job taking all the little pieces that aren't necessarily in the script. For example, I think when Grace is comforting her friend, whose name I've now forgotten, they are trying to file a complaint because they know that they're getting sick with the health board. And she's crying and Grace comforts her, and that hug lingered and it felt real. Like Grace was holding her and whispering in her ear and rubbing her back, and like it felt like a moment you would actually give your friend. And I feel like on stage, often people are afraid to let those moments exist the same way they would in real life. They make them more presentational, so your hugs are going to be shorter, and your comfort is there, but it doesn't stay the amount it would actually need to stay to comfort someone in that situation. And I get that sometimes you need to move on, sometimes you feel like audience won't linger with you, but I think that letting that stay is really powerful. And in a piece like this, where you want the audience to feel a little uncomfortable and a little angry and sad and upset, like it helps to just sit in those moments. I think they did a really good job with that, and I'm excited to go back in for Act 2. I'll see you when the show's over. So Radium Girls is now finished. I think that possibly Act 2 was even more emotional than Act 1, which I didn't necessarily expect. I thought that the trial would be a little bit more procedural and a little bit less emotional, but that is not the case. And there were a lot of really beautiful moments in this show. I want to specifically shout out Will, who played Tom, who is Grace's boyfriend. They never end up getting married, but they had several very emotional scenes in this, and their breakup was beautifully staged, and they did a very, very, very good job of playing that authentically and wonderfully, and I was just so impressed. And then also Michelle, who plays Grace's mother, did such a good job in this show, like absolutely fantastic. And the big thing that was impressive to me is there is a scene where Grace is talking to the lawyer for the company. And her mother is part of the scene and is trying to get Grace to sign a settlement that was a bad deal. Good job, Grace, not signing that. And so her lines in the scene are not very many, but she has an impact and an obvious opinion. And Michelle did such a fantastic job of staying engaged in that character in a scene where it would have been really easy for her to check out. So they're arguing back and forth, and she kept her face engaged the whole time. You could see her clear opinion as each of the characters were discussing their thoughts. You could see very obviously on her face what she thought at each moment, and I was super impressed by that. And I'm always impressed by the talent here every time I come. Theater South really puts on a fantastic show. The director of this is the first time that she has directed at Theater South, and I hope she comes back. Her name is Monica, and I thought that the show was so well directed and that all of the moments were done with just such care that I really, really enjoyed it. And sadly, this is the closing performance because I can't come to things in October unless they're over. But Theater South does have Matilda coming up in November, so there's definitely fun stuff to see here, and you should absolutely check it out. I'll see you tomorrow.